Hello and welcome to the weekly voice chat of the Men's Human Rights subreddit. Discord server. We are the official subreddit of our men's rights. Today's topic, we're talking about International Men's Day, which is 2 weeks away, November 19th. That will be here sooner than you think. So the purpose of this talk is kind of a logistical talk, and we're going to talk about what we're going to do, what our plan is going to be, what are some activities people want to plan in their city, and whatnot. And I think we should start by revisiting last year. What we did last year, what worked last year, what didn't work last year, what we can improve upon from last year. So if everyone wants to recollect what they did last year and then kind of highlight what were the strong points, what were the weak points, what will you do differently, what will you do the same. I know we all did a lot of hashtag International Men's Day on social media, and that's the ultimate plan, is to get it the number one trend of the day. I went down to Miami with our flyers that we made, and I posted about 200 flyers all around the city, and made videos of them and put it on social media. And unfortunately, it didn't do very much. So I don't know if I didn't do enough flyers. I don't know if I did them in the wrong place. I don't know if maybe handing them out to people would have been better. Les, I'm going to turn to you next, if you don't mind, because I think I recall the Chicago crew. You guys say you went down to a train station and you physically handed people flyers as they walked past?
Yeah, myself and two other members of the local chapter, Chicago chapter of National Coalition for Men, just basically went to downtown Chicago to a very busy train station there, terminal train station, to hand out flyers and basically, talk to anybody who would stop and listen, and also to post flyers, around the train station, which we did. And there were a few different flyers covering a few different topics of men's issues. But I'll have to say, Blue, that as far as I know, our results were about the same. I know that I didn't hear any response back. But the thing is that I don't know if there's any plans to repeat that process again this year, or if it's going to be something else. But as far as I'm concerned, what?
That's what we're deciding right now, or beginning to decide.
Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, I expect for there to be at least a little more social media and mainstream media attention on men's issues, hopefully, on International Men's Day, just because, as I was saying before, things are so bad right now. The thing is crafting some appropriate response to that. The worst thing I can imagine is for us to get a little attention and then, not be able to handle it properly.
Well, I think the attention is a function of us doing this every year and making it bigger every year and knowing which leaflets to hand out. I think leading with the what is an MRA leaflet was a poor idea, because people look at it and go, no, I don't care. But if you hit them with a slogan that's going to impact them personally, then you're going to get a much bigger reaction. We'll also get a bigger reaction if we can fund these as Facebook ads or Twitter ads or something like that. I don't rate necessarily our chances of getting Twitter ads right now because the turmoil and drama, but I think that come International Men's Day, there are going to be openings for Twitter ads all over the place. So if we can get some Twitter ads up on the platform, we can advertise my account, we can advertise the NCFM account, that sort of thing. We can just be posting these flyers on Twitter and having them being boosted to hundreds of thousands of people. I think this is a big thing we could do, and I'm willing to help fund it.
So, in other words, I think you're right. I think you just politely told I told you so, and I think you were right. I advised you against doing some of the more provocative flyers last year, and as a result, we didn't get much response. So I think this year we should maybe go more your direction.
Thank you. That's very big of you. I think provoking people is the one real weapon we have. The only thing we can really do is to gain real traction is provoke people until they have to respond. And that is, I think, what we should do. We should go absolutely nuclear with it. We need to put it as far as possible without conveying the wrong message. That's quite important. We need to keep the message on track. Otherwise, we are absolutely screwed. It has to be very consistent. It has to be very clear. And it has to be very true. And if we can hit all three of those points, I think we've got a winner. We also need to be contacting journalists. I think that going directly to journalists and asking them to cover it is a good idea, because how are the journalists going to know unless you hand them a leaflet?
So we should be emailing newspaper writers and journalists and say, listen, I'm involved in the men's rights movement. I'm involved in a men's rights organization. Using the NCFM's name will be helpful for that too. We're doing an event on International Men's Day. Would you like to interview me on the men's rights movement? Like that?
That would be perfect. Yes, that's pretty much what you want in an email. We also need to talk to them on the phone if possible, and I think that's going to fall to the American members of the Discord more than the UK ones, but we need to get this in the UK as well. We need to get this in every country. Almost in a Paul Elam. Paul is a provocateur. He does get by with sarcastic humour and things like that, and making jokes that the feminists then take completely the wrong way. I think we need. Yeah, he does. He doesn't mean half of the things he says, but what we need to do is have a huge, controversial campaign, but one that is going to, it's going to trigger people to respond, but in a positive way. It's going to be like, oh, I didn't know that about circumcision. Oh, I didn't know that about this and that. But the more advertisement we can get, the more engagement with journalists we can get, the better, really. We need people to be on the phone, constantly if we can.
Yeah, and the good thing about what we did last year with the more moderate, less provocative posters is if people come at us and say, why do you guys have to be so provocative? Why can't you get your messages across? We could say, well, we tried last year and you didn't pay any attention to it.
Yeah. People always say that when you finally get through to them. But honestly, the provocative message is the only thing that works. I mean, there's a reason that feminists will go into the middle of a public square, strip naked and scream at the sky. It's because it gets headlines. And it may be the case that that's a bit too provocative, in that the message itself gets completely lost in the newspapers just reporting on a bunch of naked women screaming at sky. But we need to be provocative while carrying the message. The provocation has to be the message. And we're quite lucky in that our message is quite provocative anyway. And I think we do need to try and get like a Times Square billboard or something if we can. But obviously that's going to be a lot more difficult. We could get billboards somewhere. Like there are places where getting an electric billboard is very, very cheap. We could potentially look into that as a first step. We do have a activism budget, but our activism budget is like $40 at this point. So
Yeah, I'll help too with that.
yeah, I'm happy to help. We funded the International Men's Day leaflets last year out of the activism budget, which is why it's so small. But we also used our own money, and I think that we need to get used to the idea of spending money on this.
Yeah. Everything is money at the end of the day.
Yeah, money is everything. Yeah, it's other people's time, it's leaflets, it's everything. So we need to we need to get some more money. It's a bit late now to do more than have a bit of a whip round, but I think that next year we need to start building more of a fund, and I think we need to
100%.
I don't know who should hold the fund, but thus far I've been holding it, and it's pretty much just stayed on the account, and I've taken money out only as needed. And honestly, there isn't that much money, so we need to somehow increase this. And I think that just asking for donations may help, but we really need to offer something in return.
Yeah. It can feel good donating when you actually care about the cause. Like you really feel like I've done something. And we'll see what success.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you, Ralph, Jack. Hello, guys. If you don't mind, where on the globe are you?
I'm Baltimore.
Baltimore. Excellent. I don't think we have any other Baltimore people. Okay, that's good. You are officially the Baltimore office of the operation. And Ralph? Ralph can't speak. Okay. Jack, did you participate last year?
I just saw you guys advertise on Reddit, and I was like, oh, there's a cool live stream. Let me hop on that while I'm playing some God of War. So, not
Okay.
really sure what you guys are about or anything, but
Okay. But you mean from the men's rights subreddit?
yes.
Cool. Yeah, so we're like the official, semi-official server of them, which is why we were tagged. Let me ask you, do you know about International Men's Day?
Honestly, no. I don't know what it is.
Okay, so it's November 19th this year, and International Men's Day is an effort to get the world talking about men's issues. Almost every year, the media completely ignores it. And we are trying to change that. So let me show you, let me send, you know what, let me just post it. What I did last year was I took flyers, I drove down to Miami, and I posted them all over the place in busy areas, like the metro, university, things like that. So I'm going to post a video in the text channel, which I forgot to announce, but do follow the text channel. I'll ping you so you get it. And everyone else, if you want to reference what I'm talking about, you'll be able to see it there. Why can I not? There's Jack.
Oh, bit of an echo on your line, Blue.
Sorry. Well, that was a field report of what I did. If you want to get a rough idea of what last year's operation was. And Les, Taz, you can see, the Chicago team, they went to a busy train station and they were handing flyers out. So that's kind of the gist of what last year was. This meeting is to talk about what are we going to do this year? What are we going to do in 14 years? And it's great that you live in Baltimore because it's a major city that is not represented by anyone here yet, as far as I know. So if you do want to participate, you can have a lot of value.
What? Just posting flyers somewhere?
Maybe, but we're kind of planning exactly what we're going to do here and now. This is kind of the meeting to plan out what we're going to do. possibly flyers.
You know,
That
Ma,
is-
you and Blue, you too. You guys had mentioned being more provocative, I guess, with the information on the flyers. And I'm just kind of, wondering what does that look like, and what would we do if we get a response? Like I said, I expect if we're provocative enough, then somebody will say something, but then we do what? Hello.
I thought that's
Sorry,
actually. I think those are excellent questions. Yeah. Because if there is a big response, and we're caught looking like deer in headlights, we're going to look stupid. I think we'll handle it well. I mean, I think between our individual Twitter accounts, they'll find me and Ma immediately. I'll just one tweet at a time. I'll make a response video, and if we do start getting that kind of attention, then we might start getting offers to go on the news and talk about it. But Ma, I'm not hearing your voice.
Sorry, the microphone button got bumped. Anyway, I was just saying that what we need to do is we need to essentially have the IMDb page, the International Men's Day page on my site, ready to go for anyone who needs to see it. And that page explains pretty much all the stats. It gives citations and so on. So what we need to do is just point to the back of the leaflet or the other leaflet, depending on how you've printed it, because they're supposed to be double-sided, but you don't have to. So there is a QR code, there is a URL there. The QR code is probably better because the site has this little weird thing where it redirects you to the front page if you don't type the URL quite correctly. But if you send them there, then likely they'll have the information, but it's probably best if you read this page and then go okay, and then you tell the person that information. Other citation pages are fully available for you to go ahead and look through them and crib stats and things like that from there. And armed with all of these studies and things like that, you shouldn't be able to misspeak, honestly. You should be perfectly fine. The question is simply being ready. And so I urge you to go ahead and read the page and to familiarize yourself with all the stats and try and memorize as many of the stats as possible. Some of them do vary a little bit. Of course.
The reason I ask is because I have been addressed, not really confronted, but addressed and questioned as an MRA. I will bring up the subject of the statistics and the conditions that we're under, that they come from. But as always, my best success has been to say, look, none of the items on this list really confront me anymore, but many of them have over the course of my life. I suffered as a result of them. But none of this applies to me anymore. And they'll say, well, why not? I said, because I quit the game. I walked away. I don't really participate much in the social order. And I tell them, look, these stats and these conditions exist. They do. They're irrefutable. The point is, men individually choose to either continue dealing with it or not, right? And, en masse, the results of men saying, we're not going to do this anymore is catastrophic, and it's not recoverable. It's not something we would get to come back from. And that seems to get their attention. Then they believe, right? Because they already feel the press a little bit, right? They notice that men are, like I say, giving up, right? Whether in despair or spite, or like myself, just as a means to an end, that, it's starting to pinch. I say, look, these are really intractable problems. I mean, they require concerted effort, money and time and effort. But the alternative is unthinkable. It's just doesn't bear, scrutiny. It's too bad. And then, they say, yeah, you're right. I mean, the point is to not give them anywhere to go. To only quote statistics will always engender them to, quote their own, right? To engage in whataboutism. And I'm like, I don't want to have that discussion because it's pointless and things continue to get worse when we do that. But if we just say, look, this currently exists, it is getting worse, it'll continue to get worse, and I can't think of any grown-up man that I've ever met that doesn't have a breaking point somewhere.
So let's talk about, I really want to focus on logistics and operations. Like, what are we physically going to do on the 19th? So we've talked about flyers. We know that's an option. Can anyone else think of other ideas? Don't be afraid to blurt anything out. Something, another way you could think of something to do, or something that's unique to your area.
Well, one thing I think we should do is absolutely take control of Twitter, because on International Men's Day they have started the new Men's Entrepreneurship Day, which is deliberately intended to co-opt International Men's Day and shut it down. Like, this is yet another Women's Day. They've got like 20 so far. It's ridiculous. Maybe in 30.
The UN made a Women's Day on the 19th.
I don't know about the UN. I'm not sure who it specifically was. But last year we had a glut of people saying it was Women's Entrepreneurship Day. There were banks with billboards and things like that, and they were all cheering it on. And we need to, get on that. We need to, just look up Women's Entrepreneurship Day. Yeah.
Oh, even more than that. You guys are gonna like this. This year, November 19th, is National Camp Day, World Toilet Day, Have a Bad Day, National Carbonated...
Yeah, I think that we really need to get on this, because they are absolutely trying to co-opt our day.
Yes,
and I don't think that is at all fair, considering how many of their own they have. And we actually have a list of some other Women's Days they've instituted. Ball posted it earlier, but
I'll go grab that. Yeah, we have to take Twitter. I remember last year, I forget if it was the trial or the arrest, but Kyle Rittenhouse kind of took the #1 spot from us. Moron, so it was unfortunate. We gotta get people to actually participate. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, participation was low. And everyone upvotes it when they see it on Reddit, and then they don't do anything.
I have a little out of the box idea if you want to hear it.
Please.
So the pro-life group at my uni, they did a large display in like the center quad of like thousands of babies' shoes, so that people could see like how many unborn babies died or whatever. what about a similar thing? Like you get a bunch of shoes donated, and you do a display for how many men have died from suicide.
That's interesting.
Just random out of the box. Like I'm just like maybe not that exact thing, but like
Yeah, no, I
a
get what you're
large
saying.
public display with like some kind of object showing how men have been unnecessarily affected by
That
society.
would be provocative for sure.
Expensive too.
'Cause-
I don't
No,
think that's like an offensive thing. You know what I mean? That's just
No,
like
no, but it would be attention getting.
it would.
You know, I mean, it'd just be a whole, you know, bunch of empty shoes, and then a sign saying X number of men, have committed suicide over, this course of time.
And then like maybe
that,
surrounding the display or whatever it is, you have like
Yeah.
facts that are
Yeah.
like, well, why are these shoes here?
right.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, Jack. Good. This is exactly what I wanted this meeting to be. Just throwing out ideas.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you won't get laughed at. If it's a silly idea, then we just won't do it.
That ain't bad.
It's not bad at all.
Yeah. I mean, it is attention getting, but not offensive. And like I say, over, this past year, I've been hearing very independently a lot of concern over at least male suicide and male, just struggle in general, and a lot of bewilderment about what to do about it. That's like they're finally acknowledging this exists. This is a problem. And they all have their like thumbs in their butts saying, but we don't know what to do about it. And the idea of kind of bringing it home, to everybody that sees the display to say, well, maybe you don't know what to do about it just now, but you better get real clever real quick, because every year we're going to have to add more shoes to this collection. It's like, say, what I want is for there to be as much of this in their lap as possible, so that they feel a sense of responsibility, drawn from their own well-being. In other words, make it their problem, that male suicide is their problem, even if they're not a man. Right. And really, I mean, that answer is kind of right there in front of us. I can't think of, any more sad and despondent, woman who has come out and spoken publicly than the ones who come out and speak publicly about the death by suicide of their husband or their son or their brother or their father. And we have to admit, now it's too late. He dead, but most of the people passing by these kinds of displays, they probably have men in their life they care about, that are still alive, right?
This is going to take coordination, manpower, and money. You have to be Chicago. It's the only place.
Say again?
Would have to be Chicago because it's the only place where we have organization and numbers.
Oh, where we have organization and numbers, that's also represented here. That's true. We're going to be convening again tomorrow, and I mean, it's definitely worth a conversation.
I agree.
And there is a little bit of money. The manpower thing, as many of our members are not in the area. But we'll see what develops. Like I say, I sure do like the idea, and I sure do, it kind of answers my question, if we get attention like that, then we do what? I definitely have an answer for that. I can talk all day about it. It's, to me, that's, it's not complicated, and it can be presented without being too terrifying. But like I said, the trick is saying, look, this is happening and it is really bad. There is still some time to do something about it, but you better get to getting, because the clock is ticking like thunder right now. And, like I said, that part of it is not that complicated. A lot of the other things, the other statistics, and the other things that we talk so much about. One thing I've noticed when bringing it to, again, the independent, like disinterested types, is that those things are, they're very difficult to overcome. And it goes back to, well, somebody ought to do something, but they don't know what to do, right? When it comes to things like education or issues of fatherhood, issues of, nuclear family, stuff like that. They're intractable problems. They really are. They're just difficult as hell. Maybe they always have been. But one thing we can say for sure is, look, you like John Q or Jane Q public that I'm talking to right now, you got some kind of a male human being in your life that you want to not die, right? Oh yeah, well, so, what do you want to do about it? Right? Do you want their shoes here too? Because it can happen. And like I say, that makes it a little easier. I want to stress the idea that whatever we respond with makes it, clearly, their responsibility as much as ours. Because the rest of it, it's just really too easy for them to push back and say, well, that's a man's problem caused by men, you fix it. But this is that it's got a unique component to it in that, anybody can feel responsible for the life of somebody that they care about. Right? It's just not that complicated. But, people don't want to feel responsible for the life of somebody they care about until it becomes clear that they're going to lose them.
Well, the thing to respond to when they say that it's a man's problem, men got to solve it, is that we need to make the men in power aware that we won't take this anymore, and we need to make the women in power aware as well, because there are a lot of women in power now as well. So we've got to make everyone aware of this, and it honestly doesn't matter who caused it. But it's also worth sneaking in that, in fact, women did have their part to play in every single one of our issues, because feminists absolutely love doing something that throws men under the bus and then pretending they didn't, because they love to take our victories and hand us their failures, or rather hand us the deliberate things that they've done to screw us over, and say, yeah, you did that, that's your fault. It was men who did this thing. It is men who obeyed the feminists is one I've had, so it's men's fault. But you've got to make sure that you say, well, who brought up the men, who taught the men these values, who, whispered in their ear, who engaged in activism towards these men, who who stood beside them as female politicians, because this isn't 1920 anymore, and there are a lot of female MPs and members of Congress and so on. And who
Very true. In fact, with a demonstration of, for male suicide, and, like I say, putting responsibility for the lives of the men they care about in their lap, that's the time to bring up the list of statistics and oppressive circumstances, and say, so these men in your life that are struggling, are they struggling with any of this? Well, they're men. Well, okay. So you want them alive. What are you prepared to do? Is which one's more important, his life or this stuff? I can't make the choice for you. You're going to have to choose it for yourself. I have done that successfully with a woman I know who has 2 sons that just entered adulthood, and all I have to do is remind her that whatever it is she's talking about as far as the constraints that should be put on men. So this includes both your boys, both of them, and you're either okay with that or you're not. Pick one, right? And then, like I say, that makes it easy.
One thing I think we should do is we should have more talks. I think we should have this be the live stream, but also have a daily talk at a scheduled time. The time should be different, so we hit every time zone, I think. But this might take a fair bit of work, because we need somebody to get on there every single day and moderate the live stream and make sure that activity happens and stuff like that. Because if there's nobody in the live stream, then there will be nobody in the live stream. But I think it's a very good idea. Jack, we normally do the live streams every Saturday, but I am thinking of moving that to perhaps Sunday. So if you can do Sunday, then maybe we could do next Sunday or something, or after International Men's Day we can flip to Sunday, because I think this year is on a Saturday. But I do think we need to be more active in the chat. We need to engage more people. We need more people in here. So spread the link around, and if anyone's willing to do a chat, like a half-hour chat or something, every day, I think that would be a really good idea. We could even start streaming them if people want to. But it's okay if people just want to do a check-in chat. We were trying for a while to set up a check-in chat, but I don't think we really got the traction on it. So I think we should try again, and we should maybe announce something on a specific date if anyone's would like to run it. Myself, I am engaged in too many projects as it is, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to opt out of that. But if one of the staff would like to pitch in and maybe run that chat, then I'd be very happy to have that on the Discord.
That's a great idea. I'll drop by once in a while.
Okay then. It might be good to just sign on to the live chat when we get here, to try and encourage people to just use it. But anyway, let's call this the end of the stream, I think. If Blue, you could take us out.
Sure. Thank you very much for coming. We do these every week, and International Men's Day is upon us. We are 14 days away. So although this stream is over, the conversation is not. So get brainstorming. And if you have any ideas, out-of-the-box ideas, we would love to hear them. You can DM any one of the members of staff and see what we can get going. Bye, guys, and we will see you next week. Thank you for coming. And check us out on YouTube.